Hey, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, wherever you're joining from. Welcome to the Dynamics 365 User Group Medlist. So we have our session 11 today on Azure Site Recovery for Business Continuity. We have with us Kubaib and Mr. Umesh to help us. So Umesh is our mentor for the group. Hi Umesh.
Hey Venkat, good morning, good afternoon.
Hey Kubaib.
Hi, Venkatesh.
So let me quickly do the intro. So hi everyone, good morning. So this is our user group Medlist and we have the session number 11 today. And we are reachable on all the social media channels. You can follow us on this link using LinkedIn page. And for the Dynamics user group, Middle East LinkedIn, also the group is available here. And you can use this group to join our WhatsApp group to get our regular updates. In case you missed our previous um, recordings or previous sessions and you wanted to go through, or even this particular session and you want to go through, you can go through our YouTube channel, which is mentioned here. And today's session is on Azure Site Recovery for Business Continuity. Thank you so much, Kubai, for taking time for a user group and doing it on a weekend. I know, understand that it's all your personal time and giving it to the user group is very much uh, important for us that you have accepted our invite. And to give you an introduction on the speaker, so he's Kubaib and he is a Microsoft MVP and he has multiple experience on Azure and he is currently in Dubai and I'm also hosting him from Dubai. So for the further session, I ask Mr. Kubaib to take over from here.
Yeah, thank you, Venkatesh, for the brief introduction. As introduced by Venkatesh, myself, Mohammed Kubaib. So I'm a cloud architect and MEP as well. So today we are going to have a session on Azure Site Recovery. So let me share my screen presentation. Venkatesh, just let me know once it is visible. Yeah.
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, so I'll skip this screen as already introduction has been completed. So we'll straight away jump into the topic. So the today's session is all about Azure Site Recovery. So how we can use Azure Cloud Service for the disaster recovery services, in order to uh, have the, a complete BCDR solution. Venkatesh, the mic is echoing.
Check now. I'll mute myself.
Yeah, yeah, if you can mute, it will be better. Yes. Yeah, so before we jumping into the BCDR concept, first we need to understand some of the components of Microsoft Azure Cloud, and then we can have a complete detailed discussion on BCDR. BCDR stands for Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery. So let's see what is Microsoft Azure Cloud and regions and availability zones, because understanding these components are very crucial in order to have a proper BCDR, or in order to understand what is the concept of BCDR. So going forward, I will refer it as BCDR for business continuity and disaster recovery. So Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform and set of services offered by Microsoft, and it provides a wide range of cloud-based computing services, including computing power, storage, networking, and many more. So basically, most of you are already aware what is the cloud. So it is a public cloud offered by Microsoft, similar to AWS or Google, etc. So where we will have a number of services which is offered, either it may be a infra as a service or platform as a service or software as a service. So I'm not going much detail into that. part. So since you all are from the compute background, so you're already aware of these things. So now let's go to what is Azure region. So Azure region is a set of data centers deployed within specific geographic area. So for example, let's say Microsoft want to bring some Azure services. For example, let's say you wanted to deploy a virtual machine or you wanted to deploy a database in cloud. So you should require a region. So which is always you have to choose which is near to you. For example, let's say if you are in UAE, so it's always better you choose the nearest region for you for the better latency, to avoid any delays. All those parameters comes into picture when you choose the region. So region is nothing but the presence of Microsoft data center in particular country or particular region, you can say. So for example, if I go to my whiteboard, so Microsoft is having like presence of data center across the world. So let's say if you consider UAE, so we will have presence in two places. So for example, UAE North and UAE Central. So if you talk about India, so India, we have three regions basically. So one is Central and one is South and another one is, I think, West, I believe. Okay. So it is nothing, regions are nothing but a presence of Microsoft data center uh, where you can deploy your workloads, your services, etc. So I hope this concept of region is clear for you. So for example, as I told you, a company which is, for example, in Mumbai, so they wanted to build some applications in Azure cloud. So always for them to choose central India. Why? Because which is closer to them, so that their latency will be reduced and user experience will be good. So if the customer is in Chennai, so always it's better to choose the nearest one, which is South India. So similarly, you can choose your regions based on your requirements. So similarly, we will go to the next topic, which is next which is availability zone. So now let's see what is availability zones. So Azure availability zones are physically separate data centers within an Azure region. So to understand this concept is very clear. Like there is a difference between region and availability zones. In the picture, you can see we have a n number of regions. For example, let's say in US, we have a number of regions. For example, West Central US, West Central US 2, there are many, like more than 10 or almost 15 regions are there. So if you consider Africa, we will have only two regions, which is South Africa North and South Africa West. So if you look into the South America, there is only one region, which is in Brazil South. So similarly, these are all presence of Microsoft data center in particular regions. So now let's see what is Azure availability zones. So in this picture, as you can see, this is a one single region. And within a region, you will have multiple data center. As you can see, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So let's go to the whiteboard again and let's try to break down this concept of availability zones. For example, let's say I'm a customer. I'm going to deploy my virtual machine in Azure. First thing, as I told you, you need to choose a region. For example, I have chosen UAE North. So for example, I wanted to deploy 3 web servers. So let's say if you are going straight away and deploying your 3 web servers, for example, let's say you're deploying this in a Windows server. So you have an option. Either you can choose zones or you can choose without zones. So let's consider the example of without zone. So now you're not considering any zone. So you're straight away going and deploying 3 VMs. So by default, when you are not choosing any zone, what will happen? Within a region, it is going to deploy all the 3 in a single Microsoft data center. So now all your 3 virtual machines, 1, 2, 3, it's in a single data center. Okay, so now let's say some planned or unplanned event occurs, for example, flood or earthquake. So it may impact this data center. So for example, due to earthquake or flood, if it impacts this data center, all your virtual machines, all your web server, if you can say, it will go down. So eventually your user cannot be able to access your application. It may lead to business impact such as financial or reputational loss. Okay, so in order to overcome this challenge, Microsoft introduced a concept called availability zone, which we call it as AZs. So the concept of AZs, even though if you choose Azure North as a region, in Azure North, you will have three data centers, which is separated by some distance, maybe 100 or 200 kilometer, etc. So now the concept is this is one data center, this is two, this is three. Now, instead of deploying all three VMs in a single data center, you can scatter across three data center. For example, the first web server you're going to build here, second one you can spread it here, third one you can put it over here. So even though if you have a natural calamity or disaster hitting some part of the country or some part of the region, which is in UAE North, for example, let's say it is impacting here, there is a flood here, then the entire data center may impact. However, your users can still able to access your web server. Why? Because your other two servers or other two web servers are functioning fine. Why? Because these are physically, separated from the first data center. And even though if you have some earthquake here, it won't have any impact here. Why? Because it is separated from distance like 200 or kilometers. So it is having its own independent power and rack. Everything is independent. So there is no dependency between the data centers. So this is how you can get 99.999, which is I think the 6 nines, I believe. So of uptime, if you choose availability zones against without availability zones. Without availability zones will only give you 99.9%, I believe, which is almost 4 hours downtime per month if you take. But if you choose 90 like availability zone, so which will give you almost I think only 4 minutes of downtime per month. So you can check the Microsoft documentation if you want the proper figure. So on a high level, this is the concept of availability zones. So the beauty of availability zones, for example, although you are deploying your data center, your virtual machines across your data center, for example, one VM here, one VM here, so 1, 2, 3. So the availability zone having the capability to stretch the VLANs or VNet. So you can use the same VNet or same subnet across all your virtual machines. So this is the beauty of Azure. When it comes to AWS, this concept is not there. So you have to use a separate subnets over here, over here, over here as well. But in Azure, you can use a single subnet. For example, 10.0.0.0/24. So you can use this VLAN or these subnets across all three data center. So this is the beauty of Azure availability zones. So let's go to the next topic. I hope the concept of Azure region and Azure availability zones are clear for you. So this is very important and this is very basic in order to move forward with the other concepts. So now let's go to what is BCDR and why it is required. So BCDR stands for Business Continuity and Disaster Recovery, that determines how application workload and data remains available during planned and unplanned downtime and recover to regular working condition as soon as possible. In a nutshell, BCDR it is a strategy how soon you can overcome from the disaster scenarios. For example, let's go to the whiteboard again in order to demonstrate and in order to get a clear picture what is BCDR. So consider I'm a customer, so I'm deploying my workload in Azure. So let's imagine this is my Azure. So for example, I'm in UAE North region. So I'm going to deploy my virtual machine. In this virtual machine, I may have my application running. It may be a web server, whatever the application. So now this is my VM and this is the user. For example, user one. So he's accessing the application to do some business activities, etc. For example, you're hosting some application which is some e-commerce or etc. So now consider, as I told you, like disaster occurs. So it may be either planned or unplanned natural disaster or human-made disaster. So if you have a doubt, what is human-made? So I'll give an example here. So if you see the screen, so it may be due to hardware failure, it may be due to cyber attacks, power failure, or network failure. These are all comes under man-made disaster. So if you talk about the natural disaster, as you already know, this is because of earthquake, flood, hurricanes, etc. So let's go back to this my whiteboard again here. So now the user is accessing my application, everything is working fine and cool. So unfortunately, for example, let's say some natural calamity happened in this particular region, which is in UAE North. Now, my user, it is impacted the particular data center in Microsoft UAE North. So now my application is not available. Why? Because the entire data center is impacted by the earthquake or flood or etc. So now my users, maybe they're accessing from across the world. So unable to do any activity on your application, so eventually it will lead to business impact, and which is again financial loss or reputation loss, etc. So now you need to overcome from this challenge. So that BCDR comes into picture, which is business continuity and disaster recovery. It means that how you can continue your business even though there is a disaster. So how you quickly you can overcome and you can restore your services. So now this is where BCDR comes into picture, and we will see how we can recover from this in our next slide, which is the what is the service we are using to restore this service. Yeah. So till now, you should know that why BCDR is very important and why it is required. There are many reasons why this is required. So I have covered in the slide over here. So BCDR is required for risk mitigation. As I told you, business face various risks, including natural disaster, hardware failure, cyber attacks, human errors. So Azure BCDR help mitigate these risks by providing redundant infrastructure, data protection, and disaster recovery capabilities. So every business comes with own challenges. So it may hit by all these parameters. So in order to overcome from that, you need to plan your BCDR. The second one is minimized downtime. So as I told you, uh, your downtime may impact the financial losses or reputational damage. So it is good to have a BCDR so that you can quickly recover from the disaster. Third one, compliance. So many industries have strict regulatory requirements regarding to data protection, privacy, and business continuity. So Azure BCDR helps business to meet this compliance requirement by providing robust data replication, backup, and recovery capabilities. So again, so if you are working with a healthcare or financial institute, then compliance plays a very big role. So in order to satisfy all the compliance, so you should have a proper BCDR. So otherwise, it will lead to non-compliance. The last one is data protection. So data is a valuable asset for any business, and losing or compromising it can have severe consequences. So Azure BCDR solution offers data replication, backup, and encryption features to protect the data from loss, corruption, and unauthorized access. So again, these are on the high level. So there are a number of other benefits also, which I'm not covering. So in a nutshell, you should know it is for the risk mitigation to minimize the downtime so that you can restore your application as quick as possible. So now let's go to site recovery. So Azure Site Recovery is a Microsoft disaster recovery as a solution built specifically for Azure workloads. So ASR enables companies to recover from catastrophes quickly with a minimum downtime. So as I told you, so this is a service offered by Microsoft in order to overcome from the challenges if you have a planned or unplanned disaster. So in this example, as you can see, I have my primary region. For example, let's say this is my UAE North, and then I'll have my secondary region. So this is my backup region. So in the event, if my primary region goes down, then my backup will come into picture. So let's take this and we'll go deep into this. So I'm going to my whiteboard. So let's take an example that I have a users groups which is they're accessing my application across the world, and I have my virtual machine on which virtual machine I have my application installed. It may be any application, either it may be a web server or it may be any other which is serving the user. So users are accessing this and they are doing all the activities or transactions if it is a financial application, etc., etc. So the source region. So this is my primary region. I'm taking it as a UAE North. Okay, so now everything is good. People are working, users are accessing, no issues. For example, let's, as I told you, some disaster strikes here. So users unable to access the application now. So now the complete, the site is down. So users unable to do anything. So it will lead to, as I told you, business impact. Either it may be financial or it may be reputational loss for the company. So now Azure Site Recovery, it is a service. It will come into picture to protect you from such incidents. So what exactly it will do? So Azure Site Recovery, it will replicate your virtual machine configuration as well as your disks to your target location. For example, let's say you have another region, which is UAE Central. So this may be somewhere around 300 kilometers apart. So even though if something happened here, it won't impact here. So it's up to you. Either you can choose UAE North or you can choose some other regions as well. For example, let's say Qatar. You can use Qatar. It's a complete separate country. Or you can choose Central India or some other. But again, it is always better to choose the nearest region for you. Okay. So Azure Site Recovery, it will replicate your disk or your data from source to destination. So now all the data, whichever you have in your source registry, there is a replicated disk available or replicated data available on your secondary region. So the moment disaster strikes here, you can use Azure Site Recovery and you can bring the same virtual machine up here from this disk, which is already having all the data similar to your source, and you can redirect your user to this and your user can continue to work. So for user, there is no impact. They will get their application. They can work with that data. Everything is intact. So technically speaking, so you can quickly bring your other site up and running in maybe in minutes or maybe in hours, not more than 2 hours. I'll come to that SLA all part in the next slide. Okay, so this is how Azure Site Recovery works, where if one particular region goes down or one particular zone goes down. So this is very important. This is not only particular to uh, region, as I explained in the beginning, right? So for example, let's say you have zone 1, you have zone 2, zone 3. You can do Azure Site Recovery here also within the zone. For example, this data center goes down, you can quickly bring your services up in the another zone. Similarly, as I explained just now, this is a separate region, okay? Region 2, region 1. Instead of bringing here, you can also configure to bring the your services in another region as well. So technically speaking, you can get all your data, all your application, everything up and running from completely another region. So another geographical area quickly as possible using Azure Site Recovery. So I hope the concept is clear. What is Azure Site Recovery and why it is important and how it is replicating the data. So we will go deeper into this in the next slide. So this is a slide where we are going to discuss about the architecture, how exactly it is replicating the data. Okay, so let's go back to our whiteboard and we will break down this component. So as I told you, let's say I have two virtual machine 1 and virtual machine 2. In this virtual machine, I have my application. So I wanted to protect this two, in order to have the complete recovery plan. So I'm going to use Azure Site Recovery, ASR. The moment I use ASR, right, what it will do, it will deploy a storage account for me in the source location, and it will install agent called site recovery mobility service on both the virtual machine. And then eventually it will create a managed disk in the destination. For example, let's say if you have two VMs, then it will create two disks. Okay, so let's say if you have four VMs having four disks in the storage, so here it will create in the target region. For example, this is the different region. Okay, region 2, this is region 1. So it will maybe it will be it will apply to zone also. Okay, zone 1 or zone 2. So in the target also, it will create similar number of disks, whatever you have. And please note here, it is not creating a VM. Okay. So I will explain you why it is not creating a VM here. It will just create a disk here. So let's see how the data is replicating. For example, I'm working on this particular VM. So I'm writing some data. For example, I'm storing some data. So eventually that data will get stored in the disks, right? So now this service, which is Azure Site Recovery Extension Service, what it will do, it will send all the data details to my cached storage. So whatever the data detail like I'm storing, all the information will get copied to my cached storage, which is in my source region itself. So from this cached storage, it will replicate to my destination disks. So even in the destination also you have an option. Either you can create a disk or you can create a storage account as well. So for simplicity, we will keep a disk. So now all the data which is from the disk, it will first copy to my storage account. From the storage account, it will get copied to my disks here. For example, similar goes with the other disk as well. The second virtual machine is also, it is going to store here in this cached storage. From cached storage, it is going to copy back to my disk in the destination. So now when I am implementing, whenever like let's say this is the normal scenario when there is no disaster. So all the data, everything will get copied to your destination. For example, let's say the complete region is down now. So now you will activate failover. The moment you create do failover, right, it will create a virtual machine here and it will attach this disk so that all your application up and running. So virtual machine will be created during the failover only, so that this is the advantage when it comes to cost, because you're not paying for compute unless and until you do failover. So you can save cost here. So that's why it is not creating a virtual machine unless and until you invoke failover. Okay, so I hope the concept is clear. So first you will have your VM and it will have a disk. So this disk will, the data of this disk will copy to your storage account in the source region. So then in the destination, you will have a disk. So from here, it will copy to your disk. And whenever you do site recovery failover, VMs will get created out of this disk and user can connect to this disk. So it can keep the same IP address. If you are doing within the zone, the new VM which will get created here, right? It can have the same IP address, from this range. Okay. So if you are doing across the zone, across the region, then you cannot keep the same subnet. So it has to be a different subnets here. For example, let's say here using 10.0.0.0/24. Here you need to use some other let's say 10.145.0.0, some other subnets. But if you are doing within the zone, for example, zone 1 to zone 2, then you can stretch these subnets in the destination zone as well. Okay. So here the storage account, it will act as a bridge between your source and destination to replicate your data. So now coming into the costing. So what are the charges? Okay. So as I told you, first you need to pay for the storage account it creates to caching the data, to sync between your production and DR or primary or secondary region. The storage account you have to pay. Second one is the disk which is creating in the destination. For example, if you are protecting 2 VMs or 5 VMs, number of disk that VM will have. So for that disk you have to pay. Third one, there is a ASR charge. Okay, this is $25 per virtual machine. Okay, per VM. For example, if you are protecting 10 VM, then you have to pay $250 plus your storage cost and disk cost. So this is the total cost for the Azure Site Recovery. I hope the concept is clear. So let's go to next slide. So now let's talk about snapshots and recovery points. This is very important. So snapshots, basically when you enable site recovery, as I told you, it will replicate the data, right? From your disk to your storage account, from storage account to the other side, which is a secondary region. So basically, this will take the snapshot. So whenever when you configure Azure Site Recovery at some interval, the virtual machine service here, like there is a agent installed over here, right? It will take a snapshot of your disk, and that snapshot detail will be sent to your cached storage or your storage account. From there, it will replicate to your destination. So there comes two things. One is snapshot, and another one is recovery points. So let's understand this. So what is snapshots? So snapshots are nothing but like let's say I'm writing some data to my disk. Okay, then the virtual machine service, which I told you there is an agent installed, right, as part of ASR, that it will take a snapshot of your disk. Okay, that snapshot detail will be sent to your cached storage. So from cached storage, it will replicate your target region. So in the target region, it will create a recovery points from that snapshot. So in order to give that example, for example, at 10 o'clock, 10 a.m., I am writing some data, which is data ABC. So let's say if after 5 minutes or after 15 minutes, it will take a snapshot that interval you can set. The minimum is every 5 minutes. Okay. So it will take a snapshot and it will replicate to other region. For example, at 10:05, it will replicate to other region and it will create a recovery point. So now you have a recovery point at 10:05. Similarly, for example, I will take 11 o'clock. So 11 o'clock, I'm writing some more data. I don't know, my pencil is not working properly. So just bear with me. So I'm writing some more data XYZ at 11:05. It will replicate the data and it will create a replication point in my destination region. Okay, this is destination and this is source. So the meaning of replication, sorry, the recovery point is nothing but, for example, let's say you have a disaster in your source. Now you wanted to quickly bring your disaster up and running, right? Now you can choose to which point you can get the, you can restore your applications. For example, let's say if you wanted to restore to 10:05 or 11:05, so you can choose. So you will have many recovery points here. So these recovery points are gets created because of the snapshots. So because of the replication interval on which it is transmitting the data. So for example, the best example is, for example, let me tell you, for at 10 o'clock, the best use case for this is at 10 o'clock, uh, your replication point, recovery point is this one. So for example, at 10:30, so you may hit with the ransomware. So all your data encrypted, so you cannot do anything. So at 11 o'clock, even though you have your replication points, but it is everything is encrypted, right? Because of ransomware. So there's no point of recovering to 11 o'clock. So in this option, in this case, you have an option. You can restore your services back to 11:05 where the data is not encrypted. So this is the use case for recovery points. So you can select on which interval or which on which timestamp you wanted to restore your services. So these are nothing but snapshots and recovery points, how you can do the snapshot and recovery. So when it comes to snapshot, you have two types of snapshots. This is also very important. Okay. One is application consistency and another one is crash consistency. So crash consistency is nothing but it will create a snapshot of your data disk. Okay, so for example, you have a virtual machine. So So in order to understand this, let me take an example. So crash consistency snapshot. Okay. So you have a virtual machine here. So this virtual machine, it will write all the data to the disk, right? So where the crash consistency snapshot, what it will do, it will take a snapshot of your disk. So this is at every 5 minutes, it will do Azure Site Recovery. So, and then it will replicate to your destination. And another one is application consistency. So application consistency is nothing but, for example, you have a virtual machine and you have a disk. So application consistency, what it will do, it will take the snapshot of the disk file as well as the contents which are stored in the memory, which is in the RAM. For example, let's say if you are writing some data, the first where it will go, it will go to the memory, right, on the RAM. From the RAM, it will then offload to your disk. So for example, let's say you wanted to capture everything, like so let's say some critical applications such as the database. So you will have some data which is still in the memory, which is not returned to your disk. So in this case, if you use only crash consistency, then you will lose the contents which are in the memory. So it will have some impact on your application or. So in order to protect everything, like the contents are on the disk as well as in the memory, Microsoft Azure Site Recovery it will provide you something called application consistency snapshot, where it will capture everything. So this is very important if you are planning for the critical applications such as database, etc. So if it is just web servers or some kind of a normal workload, then crash consistency is fine. So some more details. So every 5 minutes, it will do crash consistency and it will be available up to 72 hours. And application consistency, it will do at every 1 hour. Again, this you can change it. Okay, this is all about snapshots and recovery points. Now coming into the last concept, which is very important, which is recovery objectives. So when you plan your BCDR, which is business continuity and disaster recovery, it is very important to understand what is RPO, which is recovery point objective, and what is RTO, which is recovery time objective. So let's read the statement first. So RPO is nothing but the maximum duration of acceptable data loss. Okay. So this is nothing but like what is the maximum duration of data loss your company can afford. Okay. And the recovery time objective is nothing but the maximum duration of acceptable downtime. So it means that what is the maximum duration of downtime you can, accept. So it is nothing but like how quickly you can bring your data center up in the other region. So in order to understand this, let's again go back to our whiteboard and I will try to break down this using some real-time example. Okay. Okay, so let's imagine RPO or how we can explain this in a simple term. So I have an application which is running on a server, Windows server or Relax, whatever it is. So again, it is having a disk. So all the data will be get returned to the disk, right? So at 10 o'clock, I'm writing some data, which is ABC. Okay. So as I told you, at every interval, it will take a snapshot and it will replicate and it will create a recovery point, right? So imagine it is created a recovery point at 10:15. Okay. So now at 11 o'clock, I'm again writing a data which is XYZ. At 11:15, it is replicated and it created a recovery point in my another region. So this is you can center UAE central you can take, and this is UAE north. Okay, now at 12 o'clock, just 12 p.m. I'm creating some more data, which is 1, 2, 3. And before reaching 12:15, please concentrate here. before reaching my 12:15, which is my snapshot interval, I had faced disaster. For example, my entire site is down. So now, let's say this has happened at 12:14. At 12:14, I had faced a disaster, and now it is not replicating. Why? Because my entire primary region is down. So if it is down, then it won't replicate, right? It doesn't have the data to replicate. Why? Because the entire region is down. So now please try to understand. I have a disaster scenario, which is disaster strike at 12:14, and now I have to quickly bring my this one up and running. Which one? The DR site up. I have to quickly activate, and I have to bring my virtual machine, this virtual machine up and running over here. For example, in this case, I'm having the last recovery point, which is 11:15, right? So 11, if I restore my virtual machine to 11:15, so I am going to lose this 123 data, right? Because this is not written. So what now, going to the statement, the maximum duration of acceptable data loss. So here, what is the duration? So at this moment, which is 12:14, right? So what is the last replication point, which is 11:15? Oh, sorry, my pen is behaving crazy. So if you subtract this, you will have 59 minutes, right? So 59 minutes, whatever the data written in the last 59 minutes, that I'm going to lose if I restore back. So this is my RPO, 59 minutes. Okay, so I hope the concept is clear. So this is the maximum duration of data loss you can afford. So in a practical scenario, this won't be like this 15 minutes. You will have a 5 minutes chunk. So maximum, like as per Microsoft, you may have 2 minutes to 5 minutes, RPO. So for example, let's say in the last 2 minutes, whatever the data you have written, that won't be available. Rest everything will be available. However, to give a correct calculation, I have taken the larger number. So now this is called RPO. Now let's say what is RTO, the maximum duration of downtime. Sorry, maximum duration of acceptable downtime. So now imagine your primary data center is completely down at 11:14, right? Sorry, 12:14. So now you have to bring your data center up in the other region. So which may take 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, right? For example, there is a dependency. Like you cannot quickly up and running within 1 minute or 2 minutes, right? So let's say you have hundreds of virtual machines. So you cannot quickly make it up and running in the another region within 1 or 2 minutes. So there is a time which is acceptable downtime. For example, let's say you have taken 1 hour to bring your data center up and running in the another region, which is in UAE North. So let's say at 1:14 p.m., all your services are back and up and running in the another region. So now the RTO is the maximum duration of downtime. So from 12:14 to 1:14, what is the duration? Which is 1 hour. So you had a 1 hour downtime. Okay, so this is RTO, the maximum acceptable downtime in order to bring your services up and running in the other region. In other words, the duration for you to bring your data center up and running in the another region, which is called as RTO. So please be very careful and please try to understand. RTO is nothing but the maximum duration of downtime or maximum time you have taken to bring your data center up and running. The RPO is the acceptable data loss time. For example, as I explained you that again, I'm not going to confuse by explaining again and again. So RPO is nothing but maximum duration of acceptable data loss, and RTO is maximum duration of acceptable downtime. So this is the concept of RTO and RPO, which is very important when it comes to Azure. So by default, when it comes to Azure, RTO, as per Microsoft, Azure is saying they can bring your data center up and running they can bring your application or virtual machine up and running in another region a maximum of 2 hours. So Microsoft is giving a 2-hour RTO for you. So RPO, it is the varies from 2 minutes to 5 minutes. There is no proper documentation available, but on a high level, you can think it is like somewhere around 5 minutes. Okay, so which is not only 5 minutes, it may be lesser than that. Okay, but not more than that. So this is about RPO, RTO, and the snapshot. We have covered snapshot, application consistency, and everything. So I hope you followed and you understood what are the things we need to keep it in mind when we wanted to do ASR. So this is the end of this particular presentation. So now I'm going to give a demo. So I have a recorded video. Why? Because I cannot show in a live scenario. Why? Because the replication takes time. For example, I have my data, maybe 100 GB, it will take half an hour, I don't know. So we cannot wait, right? So that's why I have created a video where I'm going to present and we will see how this replication takes place, how we can do the recovery, etc. Yeah. Give me thumbs up if you followed everything till now. So I'll prepare for the demo. So before I'm jumping into the demo, yeah.
Yeah, once you're done, I'll help you with the questions. Thank you, Kuber.
Yeah, sure. So now I'm going to explain the scenario of my lab. So what is how does my lab looks like and what are we going to do? So in my lab, this is the region, which is Central US. In this, I'll have a virtual machine, which will have a data disk. So I'll create another region, which is maybe East US. No, sorry, I'm going to use the same region, but different zone. Okay, this is in zone 1. So I will take another zone. So I'll take zone 2. For simplicity, I'm deploying within the zone. Okay, within Central US, I'm deploying zone 1 and zone 2. So I'm going to use ASR to replicate my virtual machine configuration and data to another uh, region. So now what we will do, first, before doing the Azure Site Recovery failover, we will write some data. We'll save some files on this virtual machine. And then we will kick disaster and we will do a failover. And then we will log into this particular virtual machine and we will verify all the data which I stored in my primary region available over here. Okay, this is after the failover. So once failover is done, then what we are going to do, we are going to write some more data here. For example, extra data over here after the failover. Then we are going to do a failback. Okay, so once failback is done, my VMs will be up and running again from this region and it will go offline. And then we are going to log in again to this VM and we'll make sure that all the data which I have written over here also available after the failover. So this will conclude the complete failover and failback process so that my data, which is I have written before the disaster and after the disaster, stay intact and there is no data loss. Okay. So I hope the last concept which I'm going to demonstrate, you guys are clear with this. So for this example, I'm taking Azure Virtual Desktop. So I'll have a Azure Virtual Desktop AVD, which is a service. So basically, I'm going to take a virtual machine from the Azure Virtual Desktop scenario. So I'm going to log into this Azure Virtual Desktop and I'll save data and I'll do the failover and then I'll again log in back to my VDI and then we'll do failback, etc. Okay. Okay, so here is the Azure portal. So this is my Azure Virtual Desktop Blade. Okay. So this is my Azure Virtual Desktop Blade. So just forget about, just think this is a virtual machine. That's it. Okay. So here I have my virtual machine. So let's go to this virtual machine. So as you can see, I have one virtual machine over here. So in this virtual machine, I'm going to test it. So as you can see, as of now, this virtual machine is in Central US Zone 1. Okay, remember this concept. Okay, this is deployed in Zone 1. Okay, forget everything else. So now I have a VM which is in Zone 1. So now I will do, I will show you that before I deploy my ASR, these are the resources I have. So I have my virtual machine, as I told you. This is the virtual machine. This is the NIC. This is the disk, and I have a VNet, and these are related to my Azure Virtual Desktop. I don't have any storage account, ASR or recovery vault, nothing. So this is before I enable ASR. Okay, so just see the resources. So I have only this much now. So we will see after enabling ASR, what are the resources it is creating. Okay. So now I'm going to log into my VDA. So see, as you can see, I'm going to the portal and I'm going to log in now. Just bear with me. See, this is my VDA. Okay, so I have logged in. So this is the URL to access my VDA. So I skipped the login process. So I directly jumped into my VDA. So I will verify the host name so that you can make sure that it is the same VM which I was showing in the Azure portal, which is avd-bcdr-0. So now in this VM or in this VDA and VM which are same. Okay, so I'm going to store some data. Okay. Say I'm creating some text file and I'm putting some data here. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I have created a text file and I have created. So and also I'm doing some customization to my VDA. So what I'm going to do, I will pin the edge to my browser, as you can see. So I'm going to pin this edge settings, edge icon to the browser. This is the second change I done on my VM. So also I have pinned my Word, PowerPoint, etc. Okay, so just keep it in mind. I stored some data in txt file and I pinned my applications to my taskbar. So after failover also, our idea is to have the same VDA with the same data, same settings, everything. Okay. So now again, I'm reconfirming it is in zone 1. So now what you have to do in order to enable site recovery on the VM blade, right? So you need to go to disaster recovery. There is an option, as you can see here. You can go here and say in the search box, you type for disaster. So you'll get this option, which is disaster recovery. So you need to enable this. So let's go to the procedure. So it will load this particular blade. So here it will say that disaster recovery between availability zones, yes or no. So if you wanted to do disaster recovery within the zone, you select yes. Otherwise, if you wanted to do across the zone, for example, your VM is in Central US and you wanted to migrate to West US as a secondary region, then you need to select no and you need to select your target region. Okay. So in our example, as I told you, I'm using zone. So that's why I'm selecting yes. Okay. So again, if you are choosing say this is the example for the different region. For example, let's say my VM is in Central US. So if you wanted to keep somewhere else, maybe in Europe, maybe in US, so you can select no here and you can choose your region. But in our case, as I told you, I'm going to make use of the zone. That's why I'm selecting no. And then it will give me this option. So it will say that target region is also same, which is Central US, but it will be in a different availability zones. So it will be in a different data center in our nutshell. Okay. So I'll click next. So here it will load some more options. So it will ask in the another zone, do you need the same subscription or a different subscription? So if you wanted to keep the VMs in the same subscription, you can choose that particular one. Or if you can, if you wanted to keep it in a separate subscription also, it is possible. Same goes with the resource group. You can choose the same or different virtual network. This is very important. As I told you, see, this is my virtual VNet, which is also available in another zone. So this is the beauty. Okay. So again, availability, it will ask which zone you wanted to select. You wanted to select zone 1, zone 2, or zone 3. So let's go one by one. So I'm selecting a new resource group because I want to keep all the new resources which is created to be in the new resource group in order to isolate, differentiate. Okay, I'm not keeping it in the same resource group. Okay, and then virtual network, it will again ask you, do you want to use same network or a different network? So in this case, I have only one VNet, so I'm selecting my existing VNet only. So if you wanted to deploy your VMs in a different VNet or different network, that is also possible. You can choose. So the third one is availability. This is very important. So as you can see here, the first one, which is already grayed out. Why? Because you're already in zone 1. So it won't allow, it doesn't make sense to select the existing one, right? Why? Because you're already there. So what is the next available? So either you can choose zone 2 or you can choose zone 3. So it is option is yours. So in my case, I'm selecting, I think zone 3, I believe. Let's see. Yeah, I selected AZ3 here. So this is physical zone is to see, it is a AZ2, but inside they have mentioned AZ3. So let's see. So you can choose anyone, like which is available, like which is the preferred one for you. Either you can choose zone 2 or zone 3. So don't try to choose the existing one, but again, it won't give you the option also. So rest everything is as it is. I'm not going to explain anything here. So you can keep as it is and you can just go ahead with the options. So again, the churn for the VM. So you'll have two options here, normal or high. So this is related to the VMs. For example, let's say if you are trying to do database, then it requires high churn. So like how fast you can write the data. So, but if you are like considering for normal web server or all those other workloads, then normal churn is enough. So based on that, it will create a cached storage. Okay. So again, it will ask in the destination what are the like this is the source disk I wanted to replicate. So it will ask on the destination, which is in zone 2, do you need SSD or do you need a standard SSD or do you need premium SSD? So you can choose accordingly. Okay. So in order to minimize the cost, you can choose standard SSD or standard SSD. This is as per your requirements. So if you have additional disk attached to the VM, that is also you can choose. But in this case, I don't have additional disk on the VM. So it will only choose the disk which is available at this moment. Okay, that's it. So there is something called recovery service old. So again, I'm not going to cover this because this requires a lot of time. So it will create one entity called recovery service old. So this is also required for the ASR. So you no need to do anything here. So just keep it the default values. So yeah, that's it. We have done. So now we are going to click on review and start replication. Okay. So I have selected a review and start replication. So it will show all the details I have mentioned. So see, these are the subscription details on the source, on the destination. What are the subscription? As you can see, it is in the zone 1 and here it will be in the zone 2. So and the network I'm choose which are same. So you can review this and then you can hit on start replication. Okay. So I already clicked on start replication. So the moment you click on start replication, right, it is going to deploy the storage account, which I told you for the caching and for the replication. And it is going to create a recovery service old, as I told you. This is also required as part of your ASR. So as of now, you don't see anything. Just wait for some more time. So it will create some components. Okay. So now see, so I just refreshed this page. It created a storage account, the cached storage account. It created a automation account for the recovery, and it created a site recovery old, like recovery service old also. So these are all the things it will create. So let's wait till it completes the replication. Okay. So I'm just fast forwarding. So you got like here it is saying enable replication. So let's wait. So yeah, now enable replication is this process is completed. Now we need to see the synchronization, like how data, what is the amount of data it is transferred from source to destination. So if you can go to that option, so it will take you to the recovery service alt. So inside you need to go inside the recovery service alt. Okay. So here in the recovery service result, you will see something called replicated items, right? So here, replicated items, you have to go here. So once you go to replicated items, you will see your virtual machine, see BCDR. So it means that we are going to replicate this virtual machine to my destination. As of now, it is 0% synchronized. So it is still in a process for the replication. So we need to wait till it completes. So this is where it will take time, to replicate the data. So let's wait. So yeah, now say once it completes the replication, right, it will come as a protected. Protected means you will have your data in the another region, okay, or another site. Yeah. So here in the option in the right side, you'll see latest recovery point. So it will create a recovery points in the destination also. So as I explained earlier. So let's go one by one. See, this is the recovery points, and like see every 5 minutes is taking a snapshot and creating a recovery point. See at 6:50 p.m. it created, and 6:55, 7 o'clock, 7:05, 7:10, 7:45. So it is creating at every 5 minutes. It is creating the recovery points in the another zone or another region. So similarly, the application consistency, it is at every 1 hour. Okay. So that's it related to recovery points. So now let's see how we can do the failover. Yeah. So also you can see one more blade here, RPO, right? Recovery point objective. So now it is saying 41 seconds. So RPO is 41 second means whatever the data I have written in the last 41 at this moment, for example, at this right moment, if my primary data center or primary Microsoft region goes down, I am going to lose 41 seconds of data written in the last 41 minute seconds, whatever the data I have written, that I'm going to lose it. So rest everything, it will get replicated here and I will have it. So this is where you can monitor what is the RPO of this. Yeah. So now everything is healthy. We need to hit on failover here in order to failover to another zone. Okay. So now I'm going to hit failover. So this button I'm going to click now. Now it will ask some questions related to this. So it will ask all the you need to validate everything before doing the failover. Okay, so I have to select this. I understand the risk and I'll continue failover. Okay. So now this is very important. As you see, the source is Central US Zone 1 and the destination is Central US Zone 2. The meaning of this is currently my virtual machine is running on Zone 2, Zone 1, sorry. So now it is after the failover, it is going to be placed in Zone 2 and recovery points. So this will ask which recovery points you wanted to choose. So always we are going to choose the latest one. However, as I told you, the ransomware scenario, right? So you can choose the available recovery points as well. So if you click on this drop down, it will give you all the options. So see, let me. So let me select this drop down. Hold on. Okay. Okay. Yeah. See. So if I select this one, it will show you all the available recovery points. Okay. So see, we have all the like you can bring back to 1920, 1915, 1910, or you can bring back to your app consistent, which is at 645. If you select this, you will get the content of memory as well as your disk. But if you select all the other, which is a crash consistency, then it will only give you the uh, data on the disk. So this is okay for any workload, except as I told you, some critical workload like back database, etc. Okay. So now I'm selecting the latest one because always the company prefer to bring back to the latest restore point so that they can minimize the RPO. This is the very good option. So it will give you an option called shutdown machine before beginning the failure. What it will do? It will shut down your source machine during the process, okay, so that you should not have any conflicts. But in a real time scenario, I'm testing, right? Because I did not face the real time disaster. So if you have a real time disaster, then this is not required. Why? Because you already your machine will be machine won't be available, right? So if you are doing a failover test, then always use shutdown machine before beginning the failover so that you can properly test your applications, etc. But in a real-time scenario, this is not required because your VMs are already not available. So no need to worry on that part. So since I'm invoking manually, this is a planned DR I'm doing. So I will select shutdown machine before beginning the failover. Okay. So now I have invoked DR. So let me go back again. I will click on failover here. So it will take some time to do the failover. Okay. As you can see, it is starting the task to be performed day one. So back in my VM blade, so this is my VM blade, right? So it is still running in availability zone 1, as you can see. So now what it is going to do, it is going, the ASR is going to shut down this VM and it will spin up a new VM in zone 2 and it will get all my data from the disk which is already replicated. Okay, let's see that. I'm just fast forwarding because the process will take time. At the same time, I'm going to, like, if you wanted to see the what you say, the progress, you can go to your disaster this particular process, or you can go to the recovery service and you can see what are the things happening. Okay. See now, what is this message? Earlier I connected to my VDI, right? So it got disconnected. Why? Because as part of ESR, it shut down this VM. That's why it got disconnected now. Now I will go to my virtual machine blade. Okay. I'll just refresh this. See, it is saying that my VM in zone 1, it is deallocating. So it means it is stopping the VM as part of ASR. So again, wait for some more time. So let it create the new VM in another zone. Yeah, this is the beauty. See now, I have another VM with the same name. Everything is similar, but it is running on zone 2. Okay, so this is the beauty of Azure Site Recovery. So it created a new VM with the data, everything intact from another zone, which means in another data center. Now, the next step is we are going to log into the VM and we are going to verify that all my data is intact. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to log into my VM. So I'm going to reconnect. See, now I have logged into the VM. This VM now it is in a different data center. Okay. And I have got all my data, which is, as you can see, I have the desktop new folder, and inside that folder, I have my data, which is I have written in the earlier session before the failover. And also you can see all my pinned objects, applications, which is PowerPoint, Word, Edge, everything is there. So this concludes that our failover is succeeded and I'm getting all my data. So there is no issue here. So I'm going to show what the host name also. See, it creates a host name with the, like, it is the same, like there is no change. Whatever I had in production, I'm getting here. Only difference is the IP address. I'll get a different IP address, but it is of same subnet. Okay, it is not of different subnet. Option is again yours. You can keep a different subnet also. So now what we have done, like we have did the failover and we have verified that all my data is there. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to write some data in my current VM, which is in a different zone, and then we are going to do a failback. Okay. So here also status you can see failover completed, right? So this is just for your information. Now I'm going to my VM. I'm writing some more data. Okay. So see, I'm creating a folder called DR site, and then I'm putting the data over there. So now what we have to do, you need to select something called a reprotect. Okay. So what it will do, it will again, it is going to protect your virtual machine if it is running on the other side. So you can see the option called a reprotect. You have to always do this. Otherwise, it won't, do replication. Okay. So this is the process you have to follow. Whenever you do failover, after failover also, you need to select a reprotect so that it will again replicate the data from your secondary region to the primary region. Okay. So this you have to do once your primary region is up. Okay. So unless and until the primary region is not up, then it doesn't make sense, right? So this you have to do once you recovered from your disaster. So I'm going to select the reprotect. So again, it will ask some questions. So I'll click OK again. So now it is reprotecting. Now it will sync back. So it will write the data from your secondary region to the primary region. So I'm skipping all the processing things here. So as you can see, these are all process what it's going to do now. Okay, so you can see step by step. So it is saying, see, it is saying now 0% synchronized, and after some time, once the replication is completed, it will say protected. So once you see protected, you can do failover again to bring back your original VM in a original zone. Okay, now it is protected. See, so now what I'm going to do, I'm again invoking failover so that I'll get the original VM in my primary region itself because we have completed our disaster, everything is fine. So now I have to switch back to my original uh, zone. So when I selected that failover, it is again, it will ask, it will say that currently your source is zone 2. You're going to put your VM in a zone 1 and what are the snapshot or what are the recovery points you want to select. So always we have to select the latest one. And similarly, you can shut down the machine before beginning the failover. Okay. So now it is again processed. So when I click failover, as I told you, it is again creating a VM. Sorry, it will bring my VM in the zone 1 up again. Okay, as you can see, currently the process is not completed. That is why this VM is showing stopped. Okay, the other one which is in zone still running. So let's wait. So as I told you, as part of the replication, so ASR, it will shut down the VM also. So that's why my VDA got disconnected here. Yeah, the process is almost completed. So now you can see here, right? Now my AS are completed. So as you can see in the zone 2, it is now deallocated. However, in the zone 1, it is up and running. So it means that this is my original VM in zone 1. It again came back and it will have all the data. So that we will verify by logging in. However, you can see the other one, which is in the zone 2, which is the DR site, it is deallocated. Okay. So you may have a question like, do we need to manually delete this or what is the thing? So you no need to manually delete this. So ASR will take care and it will delete your VMs in a DR after some time. Okay, only VM, okay, not the disk. Yeah, because disk you need whenever you do another failover. Because if you keep the VM like this, if you turn on by mistake, it will charge you, right? And it will create issues also. So ASR will automatically delete this once the failover is done, completed. So now we are back to zone 1. I'm going to log in now. Okay. So as you can see, it is also confirming that my VM back in zone 1. So now see, now I'm going to reconnect to my VDA. See, it is logging in. So we are going to complete the login process. And after the login, you can see my DR site data, it's still there. So this is after the failback. Okay. So we are now into the primary region and we have covered all the scenarios now. So we in both the scenario, we have our data. So no need to worry. So this is how disaster recovery happens using ASR. So if you wait for some time over here, and one more very important thing. So after you do the failover, failback, etc., again you have to do the reprotect. Otherwise, it won't sync the data to the DR region. So this is you have to do always whenever you do failover activity. Okay. By default, it won't protect. So you have to select reprotect. Okay. And also one more thing I wanted to show that as I told you, right, it will delete the VM. So now see, so it has deleted the VM in zone 2 automatically. So you no need to do that also. So this concludes the complete process of Azure Site Recovery, how you can use Azure Site Recovery, and what are the RPO, RTOs, and what are crash consistency, app consistency snapshot, why it is required, and what are the use cases. I hope you have understood the concept. And if you wanted to learn more on this, I have my YouTube channel, so which is VDI Bus. So let me show you. Here I have the complete video related to this, so you can check and you can subscribe and you can get notified whenever I upload all the new videos. So see, this is the complete video for Azure Site Recovery. Similarly, you'll have many more videos related to Azure. So if you wanted to learn something related to Azure or AWS or anything, so I have my Udemy course also. So which is also available in Udemy for Business. So you can check out that as well. So I have some bestseller courses over here. So you can check out this as well. Okay. So that's it from my side, my end, Venkatesh. The mic is yours now. So I hope the session is useful for everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kuber. We have some questions. So Suhail has asked, can we configure Azure file shares with Azure Site Recovery for restoring the user profile in another region?
See, for this, you have an option called, see, in Azure file, you have ZRS, which is zone redundant storage. So what it will do, it will automatically replicate all your user profile data to another zones. So even you can use, region also. So it will copy. So my recommendation is always go with the zones because it will be active solution and it is recommended also. So you don't need to do anything. Everything is automated if you use the zones. So yeah, option is available. But site recovery is not applicable to Azure files. Okay. So for Azure files, you need to use, as I told you, ZRS storage or region redundant storage. All those things are available.
And one more question from Abdul Mana. Can we automate the whole process with minimal downtime from VMware VMs to Azure in case of any disaster?
Yes, Azure Site Recovery, you can use it for VMware VM also, like on-prem to cloud also, you can do that. Yes.
I think that's all on the question end side. Anyone else want to unmute yourself and ask some questions? Kubeb is available for some time.
Hi, this is Umesh. I have asked a question, uh, but I would like appreciate the call by arranging the call by Venkat, as well as our today's Mohammed, who has given the session. So very good of it. Particular session was really useful and very knowledgeable. Seinfeld. I just asked a question about the BCDR for Microsoft Dynamics Finance and Operations. So with respect, if you have any insights, would you like to share?
Yeah, definitely. This Azure site recovery basically mostly concentrating on the components such as IaaS service, infra as a service. Okay, so if you think about SaaS, as I told you, or it may be a Dynamic 365, or it may be a Office 365 services, or it may be a PaaS. Okay, so that will be taken care by Microsoft. So as a customer, we no need to worry. So on this part, so as I told you, this BCDR, which is using ASR, mostly applicable to the IaaS, where customer is managing most of the things. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Umesh, for your feedback. So I hope, hope you all got some insight about ASR, and I hope you can use this on your day-to-day production infra if you wanted to plan BCDR for the workloads on Azure.
Thank you so much, Kubaib, for taking time over the weekend and spending us and giving us good insights. I think everyone is happy with the session, and I'll upload this on YouTube. So before I do the closing remarks, let me share back my screen. So we have an upcoming session on AI-powered test automations on Microsoft One version era. So this is by LeapWork team, and the speakers are Field Chief Technology Officer Mr. Soon Engig and Alexander Koptil. So who are part of LeapWork, and the session is going to be on 16th May and 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Please use the QR code to scan, and I'll also circulate everywhere on our social media platforms. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much for your time. See you soon again on our next session.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Happy Sunday, guys. Bye.
Happy Sunday. Bye bye.